I'm Scott, Brandon, Obi, and of course, Mr. JD Walker, and welcome to the Sports Den on Zingo TV, channel 249 and 250. Kindly make sure to download the Zingo TV app on the app stores of iOS and Android. When you download, make sure to rate and leave a comment. Both apps are free. And lastly, Zingo TV is also available on Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV 6, and Roku 6 All Smart TVs 2016 forward. Okay, I really don't like doing that every week, but I do it anyway.
How many G's were in that Google there, Scott?
I don't know. Yeah, Google Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV 6, Roku 6, All Smart TVs 2016 forward. So, if I ever basically get tired of this, I can always become one of those commercial guys for like car ads that has to do all the legal stuff at the end. But anyway, gentlemen, hope you guys are doing well. We're going to be talking some World Cup because basically we're going to be talking about the fact that the U.S. team desperately needed a win today, got a tie. We're going to be talking about the Jets, who, as a result, basically the Jets and Pats had more punts than points. So we'll talk about that little meltdown there. That'll be Brandon's entire thing, probably. We're going to let him roll with that one. But JD, do you want to talk World Cup first? You know, World Cup chaos, Qatar.
Where do we begin with the chaos? We're only 2 days into this mess, and just from
It's
the
a catastrophe.
Yeah,
Ooh, that's a good one.
Nice one.
Thank you.
We'll go with
Just
that.
thought of that one.
Why Qatar? We all know at this point bribes, lots of them, and somehow we're still doing this here this week. But you know, the documentary on Netflix sums that up way better than I can. Where I just started watching that. I'm already hooked. Only 30 minutes in. But as for today's game with USA Wales, it's funny because I was actually talking with a coworker who's also into soccer via IM before the game. And he said, "So what do you think?" I'm thinking 1-1. Probably Gareth Bale breaking our hearts again. And that's exactly what happened. Gareth flippin' Bale strikes again with a penalty kick tying goal in the 82nd minute off of a particularly dumb foul by Walker Zimmerman from the U.S. team. This is a very young U.S. team, the second youngest in this tournament by the average age of the players. It's clearly setting up for the next round for 2026, but they still really should get out of the group stage. But in order to have the upper hand to do that, they needed a win today, as you say, because with the way England absolutely destroyed Iran 6-2 this morning, and the U.S. is playing England on Friday. If both teams play how they did today, that's not going to go very well for the U.S., which then sets up a must-win Iran in the third game. Yeah, no pressure at all, especially with political undertones and all of the other. Go ahead, Obi.
I am not as your sound went. Maybe it was just my side. That's why I started talking. Apologies for talking over you. But I see it a little less dire than you. First of all, as soon as the goal was scored, that was the worst thing that happened to the U.S. The entire game changed, and Wales decided to play, and the U.S. kind of folded up their tents a little bit in a way that was not so great. I'm less worried than you because we have 4 goals to spare. Like we can lose to England 2-1, 2-0, and that goal differential is going to be looking nice for us, assuming Wales does not beat Iran. So there's some less fear for me than you're showing, and I am looking at the bright side. That was the most athletic American team I've ever seen. They were faster than their opponents. I've never seen that before. Their ball handling skills were as good as their opponents, if not better. I've never really seen that before in the World Cup stage. I'm used to a good goalie, which we did show to have. I mean, he got his hand on the penalty kick, which is, odd enough as it is. So
Turner did as good as he could in that situation, but it's Gareth Bale versus Matt Turner. No chance.
But why do you hate Gareth Bale again?
He basically did the same thing he did against the Philadelphia Union in the MLS Cup final. But we also had But Turner did get a hand on it. Just that kick was so powerful, it wasn't stop. Nothing short of a brick wall was stopping that laser into the corner from Bale. It was also an inconsistently officiated match, to say the least. It was a ref from Qatar who had never officiated a World Cup game before, and the cards were all over the place. Pulisic was getting smacked around the whole game and not called, and a lot of the fouls weren't getting called. So it was back and forth in that regard. I agree, Obi, that it was a very athletic U.S. team, and what I was impressed to see was it was usually in the past from U.S. men's soccer, we see a very conservative approach. They went and attacked right away. They got a free kick within the first 3 minutes. Weah had a good chance around the 8 or 9 minute mark where he had a shot. It bounced off of a Welsh defender's head and was almost an own goal that Hennessy, the Welsh goalie, saved, but it was very close. So, and then when Weah broke through in the 36th minute, how long has it been since Wales has been in a World Cup match? The last player to score a goal against Wales in a World Cup game before Weah this afternoon was Pele in 1958. That's how long. But
yes,
Tufu Weah was part of an attacking U.S. squad. Pulisic is one of the better players in the world. Everybody, or at least everybody thinks so, aside from his club team. But this is, while it's not complete panic mode. The U.S. definitely has an uphill battle from here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm in your boat right now with this, just because of the fact that this was a winnable game. And this is funny because if you heard Landon Donovan, I think it was Landon Donovan during halftime, he's like, "You have the 1-goal lead, you have to go and finish this. You cannot play it like you have a lead here." And what did they do? They played they had a lead, and you could just feel the vibe in the stadium, which was very, very pro Welsh. If you notice the color scheme of that, and you look at that and you kind of got this feeling like the U.S. was just trying to hang on, and doing the exact same thing that as it happened, Landon Donovan was like, "Do not do." And then what ends up happening? Yeah, it was a crummy call. It was a penalty kick. I get that. But you put yourself in a position to allow that to become the tying goal. And that right there is the reason why you tied this game. You got a point out of it, sure, but you lost too, and that's more important.
Yeah, and that particular call against Zimmerman was a legitimate call. There was a lot of uneven officiating in this game, but that particular call was legit. That was just a brain lock, dumb move by Zimmerman to put them in that position. Brandon Aronson had a chance in the offensive zone a few minutes before that just kind of whiffed on. But otherwise, Aronson is going to be key down the stretch for subs if he's not in the starting 11. Another thing that I don't know if it was Donovan or Lallis that mentioned it after the game was we didn't see Gio Reyna.
Mm-hmm. I heard of that.
That was very surprising with all the substitutions, and you could see that the heat of Qatar was getting to all the players by the end.
Oh yeah,
by the 85th minute, everybody was gassed.
And that's one of the problems that people had with this. The fact that it is, in this case, in November. To show by comparison, when it comes here to the States in 4 years, it's taking place in June and July. You had to do this in November to offset the weather, and you're still having problems anyway.
Right, because maybe November, December was the only chance that we had for it maybe not to be as warm as Satan's butthole like it is. We're practically playing on the surface of the sun in this World Cup.
Might as well be playing on the sun.
The commentator suggested that it was not grueling heat, but it was the effort both teams were putting in. I don't know what the weather was like in Qatar, but yeah, the officiating was shockingly
a lot of minutes in the end.
Yeah, the officiating was shockingly all over the place to the point where a casual soccer fan could see. Like it looked like, okay, these guys are going to call it tight. And they called it tight, tight, tight. And then they called it loose, loose, loose. And then they went back to tight. And there was like, no need to go back to tight because the game wasn't out of control. Like, coming from an American football mind, this was not two teams that were not playing controlled soccer.
Pass interference.
There was just all sorts of weirdness going on. Then they stop it for a non-head injury. So they stop it again for 2 more non-head injuries the other side. And then Pulisic goes down and they don't stop it for a non-head injury. And it was just but I don't think that's what cost the U.S. as much as they couldn't get out of their heads and they played like they were ahead as opposed to because as soon as the tying goal scored, they played better again. They were the dominant
and yet
team
you still felt like they could have lost.
Tied.
Even when that game was tied, you felt like they could have lost that game right there.
Yeah, no, as long as – but what I'm saying is the game was tied in the beginning of the game. They were the dominant team until they scored. They scored. They were not the dominant team. They were playing like a team with a lead. The game got tied. Yes, the Wales had a few opportunities. I would put as much of that to everybody being tired as anything else. Mm-hmm. But the U.S. in that middle section, when they were up, played like they were up when they shouldn't be, especially when you have this thing with goal differential. And if Iran were to go and have beaten Wales 3-0 and the U.S. loses by 4 goals to England and you tie with Iran, then you're out. That's the one nice thing about soccer in the early rounds. Goal differential matters. There's no need to play for the tie or not to lose. You have to play to run it up on the teams you can score against.
When you have these 2 games, sure. Oh yeah, this isn't like an MLS season with 34 games here. Where you can get a little bit of parity going on. This is tight. Every goal matters. So the fact that the UK got 6 goals right off the bat gives them a massive edge in a very short first round.
All right. I mean,
not that they're going to lose anyway, but still.
England is absolutely in the driver's seat now.
Oh yeah,
and it would be a massive upset for the U.S. to come out and stick it to them at this point. I'm not confident, but we've seen crazier things happen, so anything is possible.
Now, if you're Welsh, who do you root for?
If you're Wales, who do you root for?
Yeah,
I think.
Do you root for
I'm pretty sure that the Welsh are conditioned to root against England just because.
Yeah, I know, but assuming that England's going to be in there, you want to root in this case for England to give yourself a better shot of moving on.
I think if you're rooting with your head and you're any of the 3 the teams that played today, you're just rooting for England to do what it did to everybody but you. You're like, we'll take a 1-1 tie against England, and England, you just Harry Kane and company go crazy against the other teams, the other 2. That's what you're rooting for. Especially if you're Welsh, but I don't have that problem. Like, I'm definitely rooting for England to hand it to Wales as well, and for us to, eke out a tie and beat Iran.
It's funny. You can go right from London right into Wales. The town on the eastern side is Portlanca. Crap! I just drew a blank. Yeah, sorry, it took me a second. That is actually a very easy train ride right from London. It goes right into the town.
Yeah.
And
easier than pronouncing it.
Yeah, I screwed it up the first time there. I tried so hard. I was going to be like, I got this. And then I'm like.
And it was like a completely different team in the second half for the Americans. Where they had the pressure in the first half, and then, as Obi said, they kind of kept it on a little bit after that goal, but it was really after halftime that it seemed like all momentum just shifted.
Yep, and like I said, that crowd was 12th man. Hell,
I disagree with. I think that the crowd was into it because their team was performing better. Because in the first half, it was all USA, different USA.
Yeah, but the crowd. I mean, honestly, when you look at the crowd, and it's understandable, I think
it was empty. When you looked at the crowd, I mean,
it was a very heavy. It was overwhelmingly Welsh versus US.
But the Americans that were there were pretty loud in the first half.
They were. But then,
it didn't really seem like because it did sound like a pro-American crowd in the first half and a pro-Welsh crowd in the second half.
But
and Wales had a chance even before with the corner kick and that great Turner save in the 65th minute. That I thought was going to be the equalizer even before the penalty kick. But after that foul, as soon as you see Bales lining up for a penalty kick, just done.
Yep, you had a feeling there. So, all right, we will definitely come back to this. Anything else on this, or should we let Brandon have his say on his team?
I mean, clearly, I'm the soccer expert here on the show.
I know you quiet like 15 minutes here.
Yeah, I mean, I was just no, I you guys know I'm not soccer, but like obviously I want us to do well. So, albeit I listen to you guys on soccer. You guys know what you're talking about.
Yeah. At least on this case, you're polite about it. You're not sitting there going
on the show.
Yeah. Well, no, inside you're probably like,
you don't know what happens here in
on the feed that
he's watching YouTube while this is going on.
Soccer, sport.
Yeah.
Go, America.
Yeah, America. Yeah,
America.
So, USA in 2 o'clock.
Yeah, I got my blue light. I get.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the most I can do.
With your blue light and your blue heart, why don't you tell us about your boys in green?
Oh boy!
All right.
There we go. That's the best way to describe it right there.
The investment that I had yesterday, that I was to sit down for 3 hours for 59 and a half minutes of play, sitting there like really like stressing out, heart beating out of my eyeballs, and then to see what happened and to hear Kevin Harlan lose his voice over this while I'm losing my voice over this, while my girlfriend's yelling at me to stop yelling. This was just a whole cluster F of just not great situation. First off, the type of football that was played yesterday, regardless of wind, was the most 1945 football I've ever seen. Oh my God. But first off, Mac Jones looked like Drew Brees compared to Zach Wilson, who I'll get to in just a moment. But for the most part, they were identical games on both sides of the ball, right? Both defenses played mirror to mirror, punch for punch, and held each other up the whole game, right? And now I just mentioned Mac Jones and that offense, Patriots offense, was able to create some drives, right? They were able to get to the red zone a few times, some third down conversions, but really when they needed to, and especially in the red zone, the Jets defense held them on a number of 3 and outs. They had more sacks than an Idaho potato farm. I mean, they really put a number. And let's even go back to the other Patriots game a couple weeks ago. In 2 games, not giving up a single touchdown, and you lose both games. That doesn't even make sense. And I'll throw this stat at you that I read today that I had to read it 3 times because I couldn't believe this. In the second half, the Jets averaged, now mind you, football is measured in yards. That 3 feet in a yard, 12 inches in a foot. Okay, that's how that divides out. The Jets averaged 2.77 inches per play in the second half. That shouldn't even be physically possible. That I inches. I didn't even know football and inches were allowed to be in the same sentence.
It is a game of inches, though. They do say that.
4th and inches.
Okay, for forgetting that point, but in such a stat like that, to see inches per play was mind-boggling to me. 1 yard in the third.
When you have 3,600 inches across the field, if I did the math right.
1 yard in the fourth. Minus 21 passing yards in the second half. I can do that. You can do that. All of us on the show can throw for minus 21 passing yards at least.
What is that about that right there? Right there, give or take.
And Zach Wilson. through these games, your return, other than like the Pittsburgh game, there were some moments really early on when you came back, but as of late, pretty much since the Green Bay game, or even the Dolphins game, the defense had been carrying the team to the point where they are winning despite Zach Wilson. Right? We are in year 2. We are halfway or past halfway, past the halfway point of year 2 here with Zach Wilson. I get it. He hasn't had a full season on the field, but you had a full season off the field. I'm not seeing where the real commitment is to want to progress to be a better quarterback. Look at all the other quarterbacks just in his class, let alone the 3-4 year, like really all the rookie deals and stuff like that. They have all made steps. Justin Fields is running across the NFL fields like he's Forrest Gump, running all over the place. Mac Jones got to a playoff game, got to the playoffs last year and is in a position to get to another playoff game, position now. Trevor Lawrence, he's Jacksonville is still a funny situation. They just got 100 million violations to really to tip of the iceberg in that team. And it's just really, I know I'm missing somebody. Trey Lance is injured, so that really doesn't count. Zach, what progress has Zach Wilson really have done in these games since coming back and since coming into the NFL? Like, I get these really early years, you're like learning to be an NFL quarterback, but these other guys have had their moments. Zach has not had these moments yet. And then for him to really have such a lack of awareness at the podium, to stand up there, and that's a whole nother part of this, to stand up there and quickly be like, no, it wasn't me. Like, wait, were you Shaggy? It wasn't you. Like, come on, dude. Like, you. It's really such a shame because you won the Buffalo game. You should have won the first game against the Patriots at home a few weeks ago. And you could have won this game. As terrible as the offense was, as terrible as Zach Wilson was yesterday, missing so many easy passes, so many just they weren't even close. Like it was really a terrible display of actually throwing the football. And I don't even mind everybody being so candid. You hear Salah being like, oh, it was dog shit. You hear Garrett Wilson being the passing game. Like, we have the guys here, but the passing game, quite frankly, to be honest with you, is and they're right, because what Zach Wilson did was divide the locker room.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Alienating his allies in the process.
You did, which really brings you to your final, like, this is your most pivotal moment in his career thus far. I don't think he should be benched, but you start this game. You're coming home against the Bears, right? This is going to be a one-on-one matchup against Justin Fields, like I was just mentioning in your draft class, the whole nine, who's running for like 900 yards, who will have probably 1,400 yards at the end of the season. Okay, you're going to come home to a raucous crowd right after Thanksgiving. You are going to have one series. If you don't get a first down on that first series, A, he should be benched. And B, what's definitely going to happen is it will be one of the loudest boos your TV has ever projected. You'll have to lower the volume on your TV. And I think another part of this is Robert Saleh. I think we're going to see how he really galvanizes a team, because the Zach Wilson, that situation is what it is. And if they have to bench him, they do so. That's fine. But if he can keep everybody else, I think it's really going to show a lot of good faith and just a lot of kind of good good stance with Jet fans. I think if they were able to rally next week, regardless of the quarterback situation. Look, the season's not over. You're still in a position to be in a playoff spot, to get a wild card spot. The division now, I think, is really, out of the way. But it's just so frustrating, and I think it's quite fitting because this will be my last point. Black Friday is coming up. One of probably America's biggest shopping day of the year. Be surprised if they're in the back rooms of MetLife Stadium and the Jets training facility. There are some executives and some scouts doing a little Black Friday shopping on seeing who's going to be on the quarterback market next year.
Now, let me ask you this question. You have a choice in this case, just basically black or white. You have Zach Wilson growth or guaranteed playoff spot with say, Flacco. Which would you take?
Playoff spot.
Yeah, open to all of you guys on this one, please.
I think if I'm a Jets team, executive, owner, forget fan, it's Flacco. Here, because I'm looking at many times I say, and just to get back into the conversation we have. He's a young quarterback with a good team around him. Let's see what happens when we pay him, and then we'll know how good he is because we're going to have to cut down the level of people around him. But what the Jets,
is this a guy you want to pay now?
No, I don't think so. The Jets, what the Jets did with their draft, first round in the first and into the second round was unbelievable. You have Sauce is for real. I mean, I was watching the Eagles game, and then we get to see the end of the Jets game. That's what they switched to. So we saw Wilson throw an incomplete pass and then the punt. And we were all talking about just what's going on with that Jets defense, how scary it is that is a team where the young quarterback is not living up to he's got tools around him and he's not doing it. So if I'm a Jet fan, give me Flacco, make a run. And next year, maybe we talk to the 49ers and, we take a Garoppolo. Maybe somebody else, we'll take somebody else's second-tier quarterback who's not going to cost us what it is going to cost us to have to even exercise his option or franchise Wilson. I would quit on Wilson at this point. Now, for every Jet fan watching, I'm the worst at predicting quarterbacks, so it's probably a good sign, but I would quit on Wilson because I see what else is going on around that team. And
I'm one game away from
I don't want to bench him yet. But I do want to bench him at halftime of the Chicago game if this stuff continues.
Or earlier if need be. I really think they're he's on a series by series basis.
As he should be. And the garbage that he said after the game somehow made the garbage on the field even worse.
Magnifies it greatly.
I compared his offensive numbers to Tebow a few weeks ago. And he's making that and forget Mark Sanchez. Wilson is putting up Tim Tebow offensive numbers.
He's putting up LaMarcus Russell numbers.
Yes.
Mark Sanchez has more playoff wins at this moment in his career than basically Zach
first 2 years for Sanchez. Yeah.
Flacco has more touchdown passes this season still, despite only playing 3 games than Wilson does.
Now here's the other side of this too. As we're reaching into, definitely in the second half, final third of the season almost at this point, you have to start looking at the teams that you've beaten. Now you've beaten the Bills, you've beaten, the Dolphins, but you've lost 2 to the Patriots, who very quietly have won 5 out of 6 and are now a game behind in the AFC East. Do you start looking at the Patriots and seeing them as the team to beat in the East now? Is it possible?
No, not with Buffalo still around.
Even Miami, I think even on paper, I think that it's still too much. But New England is doing what they did last year, where they started to really kind of get the gears going this time of year, got into a wild card spot, and then lost historically bad to a division rival. So again, if they got into it and then won a game, and then maybe is it the Joe Burrow thing where it's the wild card gets on a thing, but no, I still think Buffalo and Miami, and we could say they're still not better than the Jets, but they do crap like this for 2 games, where even with a penalty that takes points off the board, notwithstanding, you still you couldn't score any offensive touchdowns. So so Zach, depending on how this Chicago game goes, we'll see how it. But LaFleur has to go also. We haven't mentioned him yet.
I've been saying all year LaFleur is awful, and yesterday proved it.
If I see one more third or fourth down pass behind the line of scrimmage, I'm actually going to punch holes through my TV. They've done it for so many years on top of many other issues.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just one of the most illogical parts of it. Like if they need 7 yards, they're going to throw it 4. If they need 10 yards, they will throw it 7. Or if they need 15 yards, God forbid, be aggressive and go for it. They'll throw it a stupid 3-yard screen pass that they don't even have any blockers for. So then he'll lose another 3 yards
because they don't trust their quarterback to do it. Though
some other factors. There's some other factors to play here. One is they're really missing Breece Hall.
Mm-hmm.
If there's been
but the run game was okay yesterday. It's the offensive line is terrible.
The offensive line is terrible. So
that's where the 2.77 inches per play. That's just the defensive line manhandling an offensive line.
And when they're down to their their third string left tackle and fourth string right guard, you can kind of expect that. But they were playing better than that, despite all of the injuries. Breece Hall at least had that playmaking ability, that it factor that you no longer have. And with a quarterback like Wilson, there was so many plays yesterday that, and I got to say, I didn't watch this game because I watched Seton Hall basketball, and I am so happy I didn't watch this game because this is the kind of game that I would have probably thrown something at my TV, and I don't need that in my life anymore. I am taking a step back from watching Jets games on the regular for the sake of my mental health. And games like yesterday are the biggest reason why. I've seen this garbage too much over the years, over and over and over again. Terrible offensive coordinator, bad quarterbacks, just one right after another. The names change, but this garbage is the same always.
But your team is 6-2 when it doesn't involve the Patriots.
Right, but they also
but the wild card standings are going to involve the Patriots come the end of the year.
But being the slight optimist that I am from years of my own suffering,
and the best games where we thought, Zach Wilson is legit, are teams that we now know are also garbage: Pittsburgh and Green Bay.
I want to go back to the question you asked about the division entirely. I look at the division and it's well, I know who the best coach in that division is, and I don't even have to think about it. But I also know the best coach has at best the third best quarterback. And we all thought Tua was there was tank for Tua was a thing, and he's showing why. He's an unbelievably accurate passer. He has more of an arm than we thought he did, and then you give him a weapon like Tyreek Hill, forget it. And then Josh Allen is the guy who people want. He's one of those 4 quarterbacks in the NFL right now that if he's on your team, you have complete confidence you're going to make the playoffs, which puts the Jets in a hole. And that hole is they don't have a lot of ways to win. And when you don't have a lot of ways to win and Bill Belichick is on the other side, you lose. And that's what it comes down to. If you don't have options, Bill Belichick takes away your first option. So you better have a second and third, and the Jets don't. And that's what's killing the Jets in those other 2 games where they're not 6-2. And there are other coaches along the way who are going to be able to do that to them. And how often are they going to recover a fumble in the end zone? How often is that going to happen when the game should be over? So I think the Jets.
Yeah.
I think the Jets are going to be slipping out of that wild card. I mean, you still have whatever's going to happen with Cincinnati, whoever is going to be the second team in the West, and there's other options for that third wild card that aren't in their division when you end up having 2 losses against New England and that Miami team and Buffalo team that both look really good, really good teams.
Now, in this case right now, looking at the entire there's arguably, we can say 6 teams still in this. And by 6, if you want to include Indianapolis, who's 4-6-1. If you don't want to include that, that's fine.
Jeff Sunday, all of a sudden, the Colts.
Yeah. Which obviously, that loss actually hurt them.
Jeff Sundays.
It hurt them, helped the Eagles, and actually helped the Jets too. Because in this case, you pull that team out of the mix, then you have 5 teams looking for 3 playoff spots there. That's a little more feasible right now. You got Buffalo, New England, the Jets, Cincinnati, and then at 5-5 right now is the Chargers. So it is still a winnable playoff spot. You're like you said before, you're going to be tested with this game against, the Bears, but I think it's a winnable game at home, and I think they know it. You've got a tough schedule coming up here with the Vikings coming up. Again, you have to sit there. You got to play Miami. You got to play Buffalo again. But take the.
I actually don't know how tough is. That Vikings game at home or away?
It's on the road. It's in Minnesota.
All right. So maybe less. Look, with the Vikings, you put sauce on Justin Jefferson. If Jefferson is taken out of the game, the Vikings can't do anything.
We just saw that.
But I think
they're not winning 40-3. But these are winnable games that Zach Wilson has to be. He is walking the thinnest line out of any quarterback right now.
Another big part of this is that you kind of touched on this, Brandon. Saleh needs to handle this carefully because he's about to have a locker room mutiny.
Mm-hmm.
If Wilson continues to play like this and isn't benched, there will be a full-on locker room mutiny. The defense may just beat the living tar out of Wilson in the locker room after the game. The rate things are going, and with the complete lack of accountability, this is a immature boy, as Stephen A. Smith said in his rant today, which it's bad if I'm agreeing with Stephen A. Smith on anything, but just this is pathetic.
News outlets are killing Wilson for what he said too.
Yeah, and just the only just wide open passes his screen passes with no coverage, he was throwing over receivers' heads. Blame the wind all you want. He's just terrible.
I feel bad for Elijah Moore. He's like, damn, the one time he throws the balls to me, they're not even close.
I want to see Mike White soon.
Now, this just came down the wire from ESPN from Saleh. Asked if he's prepared to name Wilson as this week's starter. He said, not right now, not until I'm done evaluating everything. So that is not keeping things quiet and then saying you're going with Wilson. That sounds a little bit more like he is a little more non-committal. So
it sounds like damage control is what that is.
Could very well be that too.
Evaluation could be, in this case, not just be on the field, but what do the rest of the players say? Because this is in the parlance of everyday life, a teachable moment. You want to be the quarterback of this team, it's always we. Remember what happened when Josh Allen lost that first of the 2 games in a row the Bills lost, right? He came out and he said, it is hard to win when your quarterback plays like he's crap. He didn't say crap, but he went one step higher. And that, when you say that, you know what? Everybody who made a mistake on the team, and at least one play, everybody made at least one. Everybody owns up to their mistake instantly when the face of your team does that. Now, the only thing Wilson has going for him is he's not the face of the team. But that doesn't matter. He's still the quarterback. And so that's one of the reasons I am so like, oh, this guy's not NFL ready. Because that's like what they teach you in college. It's just take the blame and move on.
Here's the interesting thing is I'm looking at the stats right now. Good.
That Obi just touched on a bigger issue. If Wilson isn't the face of the team, who is? Sauce Gardner's a rookie. So they're maybe Quinnen Williams.
Quinnen. Okay.
What Zach Wilson needs is a foot to the behind from a player who's a respected leader in that locker room. Who is it though? I don't see who that is.
Somebody needs to talk to him from outside of this locker room.
Who?
He's
And it-
his mom's
His
girlfriend.
mother's friend?
No. It's not a pampering. See, that's the problem. He's pampered too much by these ladies, and it's no. I'm too good for that. It's okay. I'm not blaming the narrative on his cougar lifestyle, on his football play. That's not what I'm saying. But I think there is some type of entitlement that he really displayed in that press conference. And
you know who this reminds me of?
All I know is
Ryan Leaf.
Jim Darnold wouldn't have acted like that. And you know me, I wanted to keep Sam I Am. That's my boy. And he's still suffocating down in Carolina behind Baker, who I like, and McAdoofus. I can't stand.
One quick note on that. I have never seen 3 quarterbacks with high ankle sprains in the same season. That is so strange to me. And I don't know if there's something up with their equipment or their training staff, but just that just blows my mind. Tangent over.
Well, here's the curious thing. I want to get your thoughts here. Last year, I'm looking at Zach Wilson's quarterback rating was a pedestrian 69.7 rookie year. This year, 72.6. Last year, 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 4-5 this year. Completion rate, both years, 15.5. Big difference, though. Last year, in 13 games, he was sacked 44 times. This year, in 7 games, 16. So the sacks are down by more than half this year on average. So the numbers are pretty much exactly the same as last year, but he is not getting pressured like he was.
Which behind a makeshift line like that is absolutely incredible that he's not getting that much pressure. Like he's getting some pressure, but not the extent he did last year.
To be fair, he has learned to throw it away a little bit this season.
At least over the past few weeks.
So
a little
Scott,
bit.
I would prefer to see pressures over sacks. Or
That
pressure
I don't have in front of me.
Yeah, because it might just be he's throwing the ball way better, but then you would expect to see his completion percentage dropping, but he might be making up for that on another, there should have been 10 more plays he was sacked on. Those are 10 incompletes, and he has 10 completes somewhere where he wouldn't have in the past. So it could be, that's why I think pressures are a better number. But in any case, it's not good under, what do you say, 50% completion percentage?
55.6 both years. 4 touchdowns in 7 games, though.
55% in today's NFL?
That's pathetic.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is that the numbers are pretty much very nearly on par to exactly what they were last year.
Yeah,
so
it's progress. That's what I said.
That's not a category you want to be in.
Yeah.
There are literally categories where he's ranked 34th out of quarter. There is only 32 teams.
He has fewer touchdown passes than his backup, who only played the first 3 games.
Baker has more touchdowns.
Right, but just that stat is incredible to me.
And
Christian
Flacco's
McCaffrey almost has as many touchdowns.
It may have been a lot of years ago, but Flacco did win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So you have a borderline leader in that clubhouse in a backup.
Right, and they don't win that Cleveland game earlier this year, although that was gift wrapped by Cleveland. For them to close that out, Flacco wins that game. Wilson does not.
We said that the show after that game, and Wilson wouldn't have been able to do that.
And so, yes, Flacco, you're not going anywhere long term with Joe Flacco, but he might be just enough to get you into the playoffs this year. If he starts off bad, you could either go with Flacco where you know what you have, or throw Mike White out there again, see if anything happens, just to see if you have something for the future.
Hey, Scott,
hold on. Let me ask you this.
AFC seedings right now is it Kansas City 1? Is Buffalo 2, or are they 3?
Wait, say that again.
The AFC seedings as of right now is Buffalo.
Kansas City's 8-2. They're the only 8-1 team.
And who is number 2? Is it Buffalo or is it somebody else?
I'm looking at Google has it as the Dolphins first, 7-3, and then Bills behind.
See, if I'm if I'm any team in the AFC, I'm really hoping that it stays that way. That make so that I have a chance of not having to like. I really like to see Buffalo fall to 4. Just I would like to be able to get through the playoffs without having to face both those teams, because then I only need to get lucky once. And if I have Joe Flacco, I can get lucky once. I can get a game where that superstar quarterback's off, everything goes right on my team, and Joe Flacco's quarterbacking. And so yeah, you're even making me want to have Joe Flacco be the QB that much more. Like just. I don't think you're going to get lucky with Wilson.
According to ESPN, it is this order currently with tiebreakers: Kansas City 1, Miami 2, Tennessee 3, Baltimore 4, Buffalo 5, Patriots 6, Bengals 7.
Okay,
Jets currently on the outside looking in.
Okay,
yeah.
So we're talking Buffalo versus Lamar versus Allen first round right now.
And keep in mind, Cincinnati has a worse division record than the Jets do.
But when it comes to wild card, only conference record matters.
Okay.
So you asked the question, anyway. Scott. Let's say we got to made it to a 7th seed, whatever, with Joe Flacco and the Jets. Okay. Let's just say it's the way it is right. Who's it? Tennessee at 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Would you trust Joe Flacco with that defense against Ryan Tannehill?
Yes.
I don't know. If that were the case, could the Jets sneakily find themselves? Let's just say it's Joe. Could they sneakily find themselves in an AFC Championship game?
That's what I'm saying.
Playoffs first.
And then even if you get demolished, you lose 60-0 to, let's just say, the Chiefs. Bro, that I'm losing my. That's a great season. We lost 60-0 to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. What a great season!
You're gonna be back there in a decade.
Yeah, like it's just like, and it really starts now because we are really starting to get to the tail end of the season. And now we are starting to get into the mode of you're not controlling your own destiny. Like you're really at the fringe of it, the Jets, where you're just because, with the Chargers losing last night, like you do have that. That's it. But that's it. I just think like this quarterback situation needs to be solved very quickly because something very special can, even if it's ahead of schedule, something can happen quickly here. This is a really, really talented team, and it's like I said before, to start this whole thing, it's just so frustrating.
And in the NFC, is it Philadelphia, Minnesota, Seattle, Tampa, Dallas, New York, and the football team? Like, is it the entire NFC East?
Yeah. Yeah, because actually every single team in the East, in the NFC East, has a winning record right now. The Commodes are 6-5.
So, yeah, the only East team that sucks is the Panthers.
I mean, right now, statistically, the 49ers are 5-4. So, 6-5, 5-4. That's where they stand right now. But we'll see. We'll know more, obviously, as of tonight. But yeah, if the season ended today, then the entire NFC East is in the playoffs.
Well, that's good for the Giants having, suffered at the hands of Detroit, who is 4-6, mind you, which is just
y'all got to show up on Thursday.
We have basically. Here's what I will say about the Giants right now. They lost that game yesterday to a very good Lions team, and in the process, they exposed a lot of mistakes. They showed a stat during that game that Daniel Jones threw he threw 2 interceptions, which is part of the reason why they lost. Big reason they lost. But he had the longest consecutive interception-free streak at 154 passes. Daniel Jones had the longest streak in the NFL this season before he threw a pick. So in this season, up until this point, he'd only thrown 2 picks. He threw 2 yesterday. They give up 31 points. You got that sense and that vibe watching that game yesterday that it was going to get out of hand with them. Just everything that could have gone wrong did. And unfortunately, now in 3 days' time, they're playing Dallas in Dallas on Thanksgiving night. That is going to be a game that they are probably not going to win. But you know what? You fall to 7-4, you regroup, you got a week and a half off, and 3-3 will still get you into a playoff spot.
If the only football games you watched this year were this week's games, right now you'd say, oh, well, that Dallas team. If I told you everybody's record, you'd say, well, that Cowboy team's the best team in the NFL. They did everything right. Although I think they just exposed Minnesota more than they did anything else. I think what Brandon was saying earlier, if you have a situation where you can go 1-10, put one on Jeffries and you can let the other 10 guys play defense, I think you can stop that offense. So
the Jets have in Sauce.
What the Jets do seem to have right now, Sauce is like, yeah, I agree. I think Sauce is that good, and I definitely think he's better than Diggs. So Minnesota is going to have that weakness as they play some more games this year. And Philadelphia plays to the level of their opponents sometimes, right? I mean, I saw that Jacksonville game, and it was still early, but my cousin who's an Eagles fan was like, "Oh, this game could be close. This Jacksonville team is good." Well, the game was close, but that Jacksonville team is not good. And this week was the same thing. Like that game was close, and I had a friend come to watch the game. The first drive the Eagles had, the first 3 plays of the game the Eagles had were all offensive plays. By the time that my buddy got into the house and sat down, it was 1st and 35 for the Eagles. So they have some problems. We were not happy, a group of happy people. Fortunately, the defense came up, made some plays. But boy, I would be a little nervous as a Giant fan. And then I could also, on the other hand, look back 2 weeks and see what happened against Green Bay and not be so nervous. The Cowboy team is incredibly erratic.
But they're typically good on Thanksgiving. This is home. This is national. This is Jerry Jones's audience. He set this up so basically this team could play on a national stage.
Even Detroit is better, like 100 points better overall in their record on Thanksgiving than they are.
They're riding high after a big win.
This is the best lineup of Thanksgiving games that we've seen in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Usually they're garbage. Yeah. Who's the third game again? I forget.
Atlanta, I think it's playing.
No, Vikings. Somebody else?
Definitely 2 teams.
I think it is Minnesota.
Two professional teams, too. Yeah.
Yes. Sports balls.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
They
Buffalo and Detroit.
Oh, that's good.
New England and Minnesota.
That's good. NFL.
Oh, and the Patriots. Yeah. Vikings, Patriots.
Okay, NFL.com. They have their Thursday schedule. Shut up here. 27th, November 3rd, 10th, 17th, December 1st. They skipped week 12. They got a week 11 and week 13. They literally skipped Thanksgiving Day on their own website. Oh, good Lord. But yeah, no, it's the Giants are going to have a tough time. I mean, Robinson's out. The team is on short rest. They had a rough loss yesterday. The Cowboys had a brutal win yesterday. And the Cowboys are built to play on Thursdays, actually, I should say, on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
They've been doing it for decades.
Pollard saved my butt on my one fantasy team yesterday.
Well,
I said that weeks ago. Pollard, better for the Cowboys, better running back at this time than Ezekiel Elliott.
And I still stand by my 2 beliefs here. 1, that the Dallas Cowboys will never reach the Super Bowl as long as Jerry Jones is in charge. And 2, the Eagles will make it to the NFC Championship this year but not win it. I still stick to that one. I'm sorry, Ope.
Look, it would be hard to say if they don't get there, the season was successful after the kind of start they had and the fact that they were picked to be the division champs. But I like what they did with their defense this week. The 2 guys they got came in and did exactly what they were supposed to do. Run defense, big guys. And the other thing is I don't see any other good teams. Like, it's hard to say that the Eagles aren't going to get there and the Cowboys aren't going to go to the Super Bowl in the same breath. Like, because right now those 2 teams look like the best 2 teams in the NFC. So if the Eagles aren't going to get, this could be every Eagles fan's biggest dream, and it couldn't turn into a nightmare. NFC Championship game, Cowboys-Eagles. You could see it playing out because the Eagles have the number 1 seed. Cowboys will be a wild card. They cannot meet pretty much essentially until the final game. And boy, that would be epic here in Philadelphia.
I would root for the Eagles on that one. Okay, I'll be honest. there's a few reasons I would root for the Eagles if it ever came, God help me, to that situation. One, because, I like you. You're an Eagles fan. You, Tom, I like you guys. You're Eagles fans, but you're not like the douchey Philadelphia fans. Two, I don't want to hear from Cowboy Nation that their team went to the Super Bowl. I already hear enough of it every time basically one of their guys basically sacks a quarterback. Your team could lose 38-6, but by God, we pounded the crap out of it. It's like, dude, take it down.
Yesterday,
I felt the same way about the Yankees going to the World Series.
the clock barely hit 0 yesterday, and Jerry Jones is already talking about the Super Bowl again.
Dude,
Well, look, Mika
Cowboys
Parsons
fans are just this bizarre creature that's unlike anything else in the NFL.
they're like Yankee fans.
Delusional at times, although in this case they have a good season, but 6-10.
It's funny, you guys are kind of foreshadowing a point that I would like to make at the end of the show with Cowboys and Yankees. It's not about Cowboys and Yankee fans, but they're part of my point.
Do you want to trash on the Yankees? Do you want to trash
delusional?
on the Yankees?
No. It has nothing to do with
Are you going to throw in the Lakers?
No. What?
You going to throw in the Lakers?
Perhaps
No.
the Rangers as well
No.
on top of that. The prestige of the New York Rangers.
No.
Oh, by the way, I had
Notre Dame football and Duke basketball to complete that trifecta.
I can't. I'm part of Duke basketball fandom, so I can't.
He is dressed in blue. He is dressed in blue.
I thought he was Kentucky.
I got them up on my wall too. I got a pennant for them.
Nice. So, but Brandon, do you want to just roll with it? I'm always down for it.
It's a basketball point. So all right. So we are in kind of now full swing of the NBA season.
Kyrie's back.
My Miami Heat. Kyrie's back. That's great. Kyrie's back, and they won and didn't give up 189 points. That's terrific. Go Nets. My Heat suck at the moment, 7-10, looking way up at a playoff spot. That's all right. It's still early. My point is with LeBron, and it's not even a Lakers point. On social media, the slander that it's really gotten to a point with LeBron personally is so I can't even find the right words for it. And the reason why I was like, you're foreshadowing my point that I would like to make here with Cowboys and Yankee fans is because I have really come to an epiphany. And I've discovered that there is a fan base out there that is far and away so delusional, so defensive, so dare I say insecure. They are worse than Cowboys fans. They are worse than Yankees. Any toxic fandom across the country, regardless of sport that you want to throw.
I'm really intrigued here.
This group,
the Harry Potter fans.
No. This is the Michael Jordan fandom. I've never seen something so toxic in my life. And what I have formally now call Jordan GOAT insecurity. LeBron could make a shot. It doesn't swish. And people on the internet, MJ would have swished that shot. And to that nitpicking of it, it just proves, come on, really?
Didn't he have like a 30% shooting percentage?
It's so, I can't even, 6 for 6. But he played 15 years in the league. What happened to the other 9? Okay, so it's that, the whole, and I can have a whole hour long.
It's confirmation bias.
The first 7 years of his career.
I could have a whole show about this, and let's not forget when he remember I'm back, right? Dropped 55, the double nickel at the Garden, but then lost to the Magic in the playoffs. But the NBA seemed to have thrown those tapes out the window like it never happened. Oh, and the Wizards years never happened. I mean, he never missed a shot, never won every champion. It's enough. I don't have a problem if you think MJ's the GOAT, but if you approach me with a legitimate, logical, kind of contextualized argument, that's fine. I'm not trying to perform lobotomies here and make sure everybody thinks LeBron is the GOAT. But it's just so absurd, this level of Jordan fandom, and I can't take it anymore. I can't take it. Like, it's okay to be number 2. LeBron, it's okay to be the second greatest basketball player ever. It's okay to be the 1B to LeBron's 1A, if you even want to go at that point. But that I can't. I think LeBron's the GOAT.
Jam or Space Jam 2?
That's it. That's it. My diaphragm is like coming out of my chest now here. God.
Brandon, I'm waiting on your answer here.
What? Wow, there was a question.
Space Jam or Space Jam 2?
I do no. Space Jam. I do give Space Jam. Hold on, here. I got the original on VHS.
Nice.
Tape and
Oh my God.
I am a Space Jam
Were
1
you even
person.
born when that came out?
But the point, like, I'll scroll through TikTok and they'll give like LeBron stats in Space Jam 2 compared to MJ's in Space Jam 1.
Yeah.
And like legitimate people will be like, no, that's why MJ's the GOAT. Like, are we like really like over Space effing Jam? God.
Brandon, it's confirmation bias. You know, what we believe, we look for things that reinforce that opinion. What we basically, if it goes against our opinion, it's fake news.
Like, I've never, it's like MJ's the boogeyman living in everybody's closet that God forbid they say LeBron's the GOAT. He's going to come out and slash him.
He's going to
Sickness.
I
Jordan
still think it's still Russell, but what do I know?
It's a real thing.
I don't know. Ranger fans, I mean, you know, this is going to piss you off. I'm sorry. But Ranger fans can be a little bit like that too. You know,
yeah, they are.
The legacy. And you talk about the Yankees and their history and their legacy. New York Ranger fans kind of have the same thing, where they talk about the legacy and the history and the original 6 and all of these kind of things as a way of basically thumbing their nose to every team in the area. I mean, yes, they have been better the last few years than the Devils. I'm not going to argue that one. But there's always been, even in the really crappy years where like Yager was with the team, they always had this attitude of superiority as they missed the playoffs year after year. And I think maybe part of the fact that is because the New York news media will cover the Rangers first before the Islanders and the Devils, who are on different sides of the city. CBS, ABC, NBC is going to cover in-house first before moving out.
Yeah, so I'm just like 1940, and then they go, no, we won one since then in whatever year it was. I go, that was a long time ago, too.
94, which is almost 20 years on that.
82 years.
Yeah, might as well, because then the answer is, might as well have been 1940. Like, because like, shit, the worst part of the Rangers winning was how wonderful it was to hear whenever you were watching the Ranger game and they were on the road, 19, like that, it was just wonder. Like I, who didn't even, not a big hockey fan, knew when was the last time the Rangers won a Stanley Cup? 1940. You know,
he's not happy right now.
He ain't smiling. Like the old 1918 chance for the Red Sox before that, even though they've won more since then. But also, the other thing about the Rangers is that, original 6, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there were only 6 teams in the league, and they didn't win a single time during that time. They were by far the worst of the 6 teams. They weren't even the top 2 for the majority of those original 6 years. 6 teams, 4 made the playoffs. Meanwhile, they couldn't even make the finals more than 1 year.
Meanwhile, the Devils go for the 13th straight win tomorrow night. They're the second best team in the NHL right now by record. Just glorious.
And only over the past week or so are you starting to hear some media start to talk about that.
I bet they lose.
Watch,
dude, they'll lose. They'll lose. The streak will be over, and they won't be talked about again.
That's probably good for them
accurate.
if they
you know what's
talked about it.
You know what's better than what's weirder than actually the fact they've won 12 straight right now. They've won 15 out of the last 16. That's scary. They started out. By the way, as a Devils fan, I want to point this out. They started the season with the fire Lindy chant. Lindy Ruff being the head coach. They lost the first 2 games at home 5-2, and the fire Lindy chant was going. When they won about 10 straight games, the crowd in unison was saying, "Sorry, Lindy."
Sorry, yeah.
They were actually saying they were apologizing in chant. That is so like hardcore Jersey right there. We hate you, we love you. I mean, when do you ever hear a fan base literally apologize to the coach for wanting to get him fired?
That's true.
It's funny because YouTube haters like the Devils did something stupid. They apologized. It's like, how's that stupid?
Right now, Yankee fans are trying to say, sorry, Aaron,
Dude,
Yeah.
Actually, I put a post up on Twitter earlier today. There's some talk that the Yankees are wanting Jacob DeGrom, which, okay, you may want him. I don't think you're going to get him. But I put it out there. Who would you pick if you got the choice between DeGrom and Judge? 84% of the voters said they want a Judge. You go in-house first.
For a poll among Yankee fans, that would make sense.
No.
I would want DeGrom for the same reason. Also pitching over hitting.
Exactly. That's my attitude. And if the Mets, who are now the front runners to get Shohei Ohtani, which would be a nice little coup, I think, basically against the Bronx, I could see Uncle Steve doing that. That could be beneficial.
I haven't heard the Ohtani rumors so much, but what I have heard is that because of Epler's experience with Ohtani,
correct,
and previous to that, Tanaka with the Yankees, and his familiarity with Japanese players, is there's another Japanese pitcher, Senga.
Yes,
I forget the first name. Senga,
I think it is.
Going through the posting process, and I've heard the Mets connected to him a lot.
They did.
So that I could say. I don't think Ohtani. I don't think that they're going to trade Ohtani yet.
Well,
I think the Angels are going to hold on to him and then they'll trade him for a bounty at midseason. I think.
Here's the thing: you have such a huge Japanese market in this area, but there has been no major Japanese player in this area since Masahiro Tanaka. Before that, you had Ichiro. Before that, you had Matsui. There hasn't been like that Japanese connection. Whoever draws a big name Japanese player to the tier, whether it be the Bronx or at Citi Field, you are drawing a large Japanese fan base automatically to your stadium. It is a very smart marketing move to get a guy like that.
It definitely is.
Yeah, because also the games will suddenly air in Japan. When Matsui came over, Yankee games were broadcast in Japan the entire season, every single game, bam, and people were up at 5:30 in the morning to watch him play.
They'll make the posting fee back in merchandise sales within a month.
In Japanese merchandising sales, forget here in the States. In Japan, they killed it.
That sounds like something Uncle Stevie will be all over.
Dude, I think he should. Twist that knife to the Yankees a little bit there.
But my thing with these talks is you hear like a few days ago where it's like, oh, the Mets and Yankees have a verbal handshake that they won't outbid each other or won't like.
Yeah, of course they don't.
What are we? What, bro? This is $1 billion business.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, if I want some, especially like in something like a competitive situation like that, bro, the hell with that.
Oh yeah, it's war.
I could. And then the Yankees are going to be like, oh yeah, handshake. Hey, Jacob DeGrom, can we get your medical records?
Yeah.
If they
They
had
can want him all they want.
the players' union would lose it.
It's called collusion.
It's called collusion.
Actually, it's collusion.
Yeah.
So it's so idiotic.
Yeah, they don't.
It's not tampering, or is that only a basketball term? Like this, it's all bullshit.
George would have fired everybody on his staff if basically they were outbid by the Mets back in his more crazy days.
Look, they still have their own in-house issues to worry about. They shouldn't even be worried about the Mets.
Yeah.
I mean, that team right now, Urshela, Gio Urshela got traded to the Angels. You guys, I think, who is it? Dom Smith is out of a job now, too. Cody Bellinger's out of a job. He got non-tendered by the Dodgers, which surprised me the other day.
Oh, so the Yankees will sign him so he can hit it right over left field. Perfect. Add another lefty bat, because that's exactly what the Band-Aid is that they need.
There was talk that the Yankees were going to try and get Ohtani, which I think is a terrible idea. And I'm barely the Yankee fan I used to be. I mean, in this case, also it's a left-handed bat, but then suddenly he's going to DH. You're forcing Stanton to basically play outfield, and his knees and his legs are not what they.
He'll be hurt in 2 innings.
The Yankees always seem to have like 4 DHs, for as long as I can remember. They have so many washed-up old players that they always need to try and put somebody in the field who shouldn't be, because they can't all play DH. If the Yankees would always win a World Series if they had an entire team of DHs, because they always have a lineup stacked with old washed up players with contracts and nobody else wants.
If the World Series was based on the real season,
left
probably would too. You know, but yeah, it's almost funny to see what's happening with that team right now. And obviously, those rumors have it that the Yankees are trying to both trade Aaron Hicks and also Josh Donaldson. Which, how much of those salaries are they going to have to eat? But I don't know. What's even the point of trading Donaldson? It's a free agent
salary at least.
I said Donaldson is getting cash considerations at best.
Probably, yeah. A couple of draft picks, maybe. But I mean, you have to eat probably minimum
What,
50
an
million.
85th round pick? It's baseball. It's who cares?
He's getting 25 mil next year. What are you going to have to eat? 15 million? Maybe 17?
Probably closer. Probably 17 to 20.
I think, you know, I stopped short of saying 20 because I figured he might fill a need somewhere. Some AL team could use him. But I don't know, dude. You're eating a lot for that 1 year just to save that kind of money. Hicks, yeah, okay, he's under contract for about 3 or 4 more years. Maybe you can do something there, but yeah, that is a wreck of a team right now, and they basically have to wait until the Astros get too old to compete.
Go back to Toronto, be a bench player.
Send Aaron Hicks back to Minnesota. Trade him for Gary Sanchez.
Yeah.
So, all right, guys, you want to call it? So, Obi's like, yeah.
I'm all.
So okay,
I'm all Jordan Jetsed out. I'm done.
Yeah,
I got nothing. My diaphragm hurts.
Yeah, we got Seton Hall playing in the tournament in Orlando for Feast Week. We got the college basketball tournaments for Thanksgiving week. Those usually have some good matchups. They're playing Memphis on Thursday,
and then December 7th they have a pickup game at Seton Hall.
Yeah, they're playing a D2 school for that game.
You or I, one of the two of us is going to be there. We haven't done the math on that yet. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, you and I got to talk about that.
We got like a good week before we have to panic on that. Even not even then. So yeah, but one of us will be there repping. So, all right, guys. So thanks as always for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, JD. Thank you, Obi. I'm Scott. Tales from the Film Set's coming up next. We're going to be griping about what's going on with everything in the world of Disney. First, Bob Iger stepped down. Bob Chapek took over. Bob Chapek is out, and Bob Iger is back in. Panic mode in Disney time. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that. Anyway, thanks as always. Take care.